Hello, Canucks fans. Welcome back to another episode of Canucks Conversation, brought to you by Bet365. My name is Dave Woodrelli. I'm joined by Harmon Dial in studio show today. Here to do a few things. We're going to talk about the Abbotsford Canucks. We're going to chat with Abbotsford Canucks player Victor Mancini. He's going to join us in a matter of moments. But the Abbotsford Canucks take game one in Coachella Valley. They take the 3-1 victory on the road. Look, in a 5-game series, in a 3-game series, obviously, it's very important too. But in a 5-game series, for them to go in and beat Coachella Valley on the road, like that's a massive win for this team.
100%, and to get contributions from depth guys as well. Klimovich, Wu, Breezeball, all getting their first respective goals of the playoff run. That's huge. I mean, through this playoff run, you look at 9 forwards with at least 2 points through the first 4 games. That's massive. This isn't a situation where they're being dragged by 1 or 2 star performances. The entire team is contributing, and that's something you love to see.
Arch Shelovs gives up just 1 goal on the first shot he faced, but then he stopped all 29 after that. He was really dialed in. We're going to talk about him later in the show. But Victor Mancini, he's here early. We're not going to make him wait any longer. Let's get to Victor, who's brought to you by Pacific Toyota dealers, who want to tell you about the 100% electric Toyota BZ4X, an SUV packed with plenty of space. The BZ4X can handle any terrain and can take you from the city to the slopes. It's backed by the peace of mind that comes with knowing you're driving a Toyota. And if you're driving a BZ4X, you get access to HOV lanes even if you're driving alone. When you choose the BZ4X, you can get up to $6,500 in rebates and incentives. And now you can finance a 2025 BZ4X from 0.99% APR for 36 months. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. All right. Very pleased to be joined now by Canucks defenseman Victor Mancini, who it's probably super sunny there, probably warm. Thanks so much for taking the time today, Victor.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so last night's game. We're going to talk to you about the series against Tucson as well, but what did you see last night as your team jumps to an early series lead here?
I think the exciting part about last night's game is I feel like we have a lot more to give. I still thought we played a good game, but I think there's little details in our game that I think we can be much better at. So I think that's a really exciting part going into tomorrow's game, that we have more to prove.
Before we dive into your experience with the team so far, I want to go back to when you were originally traded from New York to Vancouver. A lot of fans obviously don't know what it's like to, even just from a human element, to go through a trade. Where were you when you found out about the trade? What was that like logistically moving, and even just emotionally dealing with the whole trade process?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's a little bit chaotic, but it started. I was in Hartford at the time in the Rangers organization. We were playing in Laval, and I was actually getting ready for a game. Like, I was on the ice warming up, and after warm-ups, like, my coach pulled me aside and just said, like, hey, like, you're not dressing tonight, like, you're not going to play. And usually when I'd go up and down, they would kind of tell you right away, like, hey, you're going up, like, this is happening. And he didn't say anything, so I was a little confused. And he's just like, this is a decision from the management, like, that's all I know, right? So once guys start hearing that in the locker room, I hear that, right? Like, you're getting looks, you hear about all the JT Miller stuff in the news, right? And your mind starts to wander, obviously. And then the next thing like, I'm getting undressed, I'm looking at my phone, and I got buddies sending me like tweets from Elliot Friedman or all those insiders, right? And they're like, is this true? And I was like, at the time, I'm like, I don't know, right? So now, just my agent's calling me and trying to figure out this whole process. And, I got really lucky. Actually, my dad was in the building, like, he came to watch. So I got to see him, just like talk through things with him. And he's a hockey guy. So that obviously made me feel more comfortable. And then getting calls from Alvin and the GMs, and like, just for me, like, it felt like I was wanted in the Canucks organization. So that really made me feel at ease. So it just, you kind of go from this, just sense of unease to like comfort almost, and excitement. And was on a plane the next day to Vancouver, and rest is history, I guess.
You're involved in a trade of the JT Miller magnitude. It'd be one thing if you're, kind of like a prospect for prospect kind of swap, and but to be involved in such a big deal, you sort of get the sense that, for the Canucks to in trading away a star player to target you as one of the big pieces coming back. As tough as it must have been leaving New York, it must have made you feel really wanted in Vancouver. And along those lines, I want to ask you what your first impression with the Canucks organization has been so far. You've spent some time with the NHL team, the AHL team. How have you fit in with the organization so far?
It's been great. I really enjoy being part of the Canucks. I think playing, in the NHL in a Canadian city, I think is amazing, right? The support we get from the fans and just like walking around the street. Like, I thought that was so interesting. Like, people would come up to you, say like, welcome to Vancouver. Like, you can tell like how people are so invested in the Canucks. And I thought that was really special. And then just inside the organization, the locker room, like everyone was super welcoming. It was a bit younger team, I thought. So it was nice. It was easy to connect with guys. There's a couple people I knew in the organization. So that obviously helped, like getting comfortable, being around like a lot of the other prospects in the same kind of situation as you. It was easy to hit the ground running and put my best foot forward.
Was the decision made that you'd be going down to Abbotsford for the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, it's a decision from the management, but I'm really happy I'm here in Abbotsford. Looking back at this year, just with my path being up and down, I haven't played as many games as other guys have. So I think it's really important for me to, get more games under my belt at the professional level, get that sense of playoff hockey, how important each game is, right? And just kind of, grow my game and, work on the things that I want to work on.
I know you haven't spent a ton of time with him yet, but in the limited experience you have had, what can you tell us about Manny Malhotra as a coach?
Yeah, I think our relationship, like individually between me and Manny is growing. I think he's a guy who, he brings excitement, he brings energy to the rink every day, and guys can feed off that. And at the same time, in practice, in games, just kind of everywhere, he's gonna, push you to strive for your best, right? He's gonna demand the best from you. And I think that's been, really good for me in the time that I've been here.
What's the difference between the AHL and the NHL? Finding success as a defenseman, like what are the key differences?
I think the American League, it's already such a good league. It's a skilled league, obviously a developmental league. There are, little unique differences, but it's, just continuing to play with pace for me, right? Being able to, make plays quickly. It's definitely a physical league, right? Being, big, strong, and tough. It definitely helps you get ready for that next level when you're there. I tried to, whichever league I'm at, trying to, focus on the things that I want to focus on and play my game, not try to be someone who I'm not, and just make sure, that translates wherever I'm at.
Right now, you're obviously doing a hell of a job playing in Abbotsford. We see you sort of looking like a mini Quinn Hughes down there with the way you're skating and creating offense. When you look at your game right now and you assess it, what are you most confident about right now as far as your game, and what's maybe an area as you think long term that you maybe want to improve on to maximize your odds of one day becoming a full-time NHLer with the Canucks, obviously?
Yeah, I think speaking towards that confidence part of my game, right? When I feel confident with the puck in my hands, I'm moving my feet, I have my head up, I'm making those simple plays. Like I said, like not trying to be someone who I'm not, but I feel like when opportunities present itself, I can make moves, make plays, kind of be dynamic with the puck. I know, like moving forward, like with our, like going back with Manny and like our relationship, right? Just how he's been helping guys get to the next level is just consistency, right? It's a big part. You got to be really consistent at both levels, especially the NHL. So making sure, game in and game out, like I'm doing all the right things. I'm not forcing plays, just things like that. I know, for me personally, moving to the next level, like, I want to make plays, I want my skill and my sense and, my skating to show at the next level. But, there are plays where you just got to get it hard off the glass, right? You have to, know clock management, game management, always making a hard play. And that's something that I've been trying to focus on.
You spent some time with him on a pairing. Can you learn anything from a guy like Quinn Hughes, just like watching him and playing with him?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, obviously playing with him, the stuff he does on the ice and with the puck, it's really special. And it makes it easy to play with a guy like that, right? And to read off him, and he'll get the puck, in your hands as well, because he just brings like an extra eye to him, right? And you have a lot of space. But I've enjoyed kind of the talk in the locker room and on the bench that we get together, right? And we can talk through plays, and he's giving me his advice, or like, hey, what do you see there? What do you see here? And then the communication on the ice as well. Like, that's another thing that I feel like I do good at, but I even want to, strive to do better, is just that constant communication on the ice, because you're going to help out your forwards, your D partner, your goalie. Just, I think that's a really big part of the game.
You mentioned it's a younger group in the organization right now. We know you fit in really well on the ice, off the ice. How's the locker room fit sort of been, both initially in Vancouver for you, and also down in Abbotsford? Are there a couple of guys that you've become close friends with, and how much does a playoff run like the one you're going through right now in Abbotsford sort of help that bonding process and getting closer with guys and feeling even more comfortable within the organization?
Yeah, first of all, it was great in Vancouver. Like I said, really easy to come in and like gel with the guys. I thought the atmosphere in the locker room was great, and then just outside of it as well. There was a lot of guys like living in hotels together that were called up. So we're spending a lot of time together, going out to dinner, and getting to know those guys have been awesome. Especially coming to Abbotsford, I already knew like a couple guys coming in, but now getting to know everyone more. Like, the guy that sticks out is, for me, is Ty Mueller, right? We played in school at Omaha for 3 years together, so it was nice to have that familiar face and a guy to talk to and be around in Abbotsford. And going on this playoff run, I think you can talk about the skill of teams and everything else, but I feel like more times than not, the teams that are the closest off the ice go the farthest on the ice, and I feel like we're a really tight knit group here.
Any of your teammates join your Cactus Club yet?
I'm sorry, what do you say? The Cactus Club?
Cactus Club.
That's a restaurant, right?
Yes.
I think I've ordered out there a few times. We haven't gone there, but it's pretty good.
Nice. You mentioned your dad. You mentioned the hockey guy. Coached a lot of college, right? Did you grow up in locker rooms?
Yeah, so I was born all the way up in Hancock, Michigan, where Michigan Tech is. I was coaching at Michigan Tech. And then by the time, I started really getting into hockey, we were living in Saginaw. He was coaching in the OHL at the time with the Spirit. And those are kind of my earliest memories, kind of being around him on the ice in the locker room. And I think that's where, his passion for hockey started to translate to me. So just, great memories with him. Obviously, just his knowledge of the game, and, how smart he is and how many years he's been around the game. It's really fun, like our conversations that we have, just, talking about the game. We've had phone calls for, hours and hours, right? Just talking about little things like within my game, team game, all this stuff. So I definitely, attribute a lot of, to where I am right now, with his help.
All right, last one from me. The Italian last name. Like, tell me about your heritage here, because we've talked with Phil Di Giuseppe about this as well. The Italian name guys. My last name's Quadrelli. I talked to these guys about this. Where's the name come from? The Italian heritage?
Yeah, my whole dad's side of the family is Italian. I think it was my great grandfather immigrated from Italy to New York. Our family's like from a small town about an hour outside of Rome. So yeah, really proud of my Italian heritage. I feel like there's been a lot of like Italian people in Vancouver like come up to me and said stuff too, and trying out some good like Italian restaurants as well, trying to explore the city. But yeah, really, really proud of my name, especially being Vittorio too. I'm named after my great grandfather as well. So yeah, pretty special.
We saw Vittorio on your NHL.com page. Do you go by Vittorio or Victor?
I go by Victor. Most people call me Victor. It's always kind of been a nickname growing up. Same thing with my great grandfather. They always called him Victor. But yeah, full name is Vittorio. Obviously, really proud to represent my great grandfather with that name and have it. And I know a lot of the Italians love it as well when they see that on the roster. So I embrace it.
Please tell me someone's told you about Commercial Drive.
I think I've heard about it, but I don't know exactly what it is. If you can fill me in.
Okay. Just like So imagine Little Italy, right? Just a strip of great delis. And you know what's a shame? Phil was here for like a year and a half when he first came on this show. I was the first person to tell him about it. No one told him about it.
Really?
So I'm
Okay.
telling you now, make sure you hit it. That'll feel like home.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm excited to check it out. I only got to do so much exploring in Vancouver, but really excited, to get the opportunity to check out some cool spots like that.
Hey, we've actually got one from our chat before we let you go. Your years in Sweden, was that just COVID related? Like you needed a place to play, or how did you end up in Sweden?
Yeah, going back to like my dad, just he had some connections with my coach, the under 20 coach at Frölunda there. This guy, he was really great with me. He just kind of watched me kind of grow up playing the game. Working with my dad, coming over to the States. So I was really blessed to get an opportunity to be on his team over there, and just kind of my development path at the time and what the options that I was choosing from, I felt like, going over there would be best for me. Development wise, I was able to get a lot of playing time. They call them like academies. Basically, it's just like hockey school almost, but you're playing within a team. Like all the stuff we did, like off the ice, on the ice, individual skill, like it's second to none. So really, really thankful for that opportunity. And I feel like, without going there, like that's a big reason where I am today is those years of development I had at that young age.
Well, Victor, we really appreciate you taking the time today. Best of luck in the rest of the playoffs, and thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
There he is, Victor Mancini. You can watch with the Abbotsford Canucks. They're going on a bit of a run. We're going to talk about our thanks again to Victor Mancini for joining the show. That was a good interview. That was fun.
Yeah, he's got a good head on his shoulders. I love the way he described just the whirlwind and the chaos of finding out he was traded and all the different calls and the logistical complexities obviously involved with moving to Vancouver. And honestly, considering even just initially went to Abbotsford, then called up to Vancouver, now back to Abbotsford. Imagine how many different teammates he's sort of adjusting to, and through it all, his on ice performance has been promising.
I'm not going to say who, but I'm always scared to ask about Cactus Club because obviously, like, the players love Cactus Club out here, right? But we once had a young player, not going to say who, on the show, and this was in the days where we weren't live. And I was like, "Hey, have you heard of Cactus Club?" And he goes, "Is that a strip club?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Can you cut that?" And we cut it. So I'm not going to say who it was, but it was a really, really, really funny moment. And I was like, kind of careful. I was like, okay, hopefully we don't get another repeat of that now that we're a live show. But he's ordered from them. I love it.
It's funny too. Victor also asked, "Is that a restaurant?"
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Yeah. Our thanks again to Victor Mancini. That was great. That was a great interview. Okay. Let's keep talking about Abbotsford. I had some more stuff on the Abbotsford game I wanted to get to, but before that, I want to tell everybody about Greta, the home of our electric watch parties. Greta Bar YVR is a great spot for all games, home and away, playoff games. They've got them. Come out and enjoy the bar, the street food menu, and the arcade games as well. Really, really good stuff happening at Greta. And look, this is the thing. We do the watch parties, right? If the watch party's not, the game itself isn't going great, which has happened a couple times, I leave at the intermission to go play my arcade games, and I'm like 5 minutes late for the next period starting. But it's a lot of fun at Greta. So Greta Bar, YVR, make sure you hit it. And yeah, that was great. People in the chat really liking the conversation with Victor Mancini. Okay, on Abbotsford, I wanted to say this as well. We talked about the scoring coming from all throughout the lineup. It was the stat that stands out for Jeff last night. Was they've had 9 different scorers so far. I want to talk quickly about Danil Klimovich, who again led this Abbotsford team in goals this season. Hadn't scored a goal in round 1. You're a goal scorer. You want to put up points and you want to score goals. He was bumped down the lineup because of the NHL guys that are now down in Abbotsford. Him getting on the board, I think, is a really big deal. And I'm not sitting here saying, oh, Danil Klimovich is going to be a top 6 guy in the NHL or anything like that, but he righted the ship this year, and it was good to see him find some success last night.
Yeah, and he's the type of player that, as far as his playoff run is concerned, he's streaky. And look, a lot of goal scorers are streaky. We know this, but Klimovich especially, he'll have these runs where he'll be on a heater. He's going to produce at a point per game and pile up a lot of goals, and then he may go cold for some stretches, sort of like Jake DeBrusk up in the NHL. So for Klimovich to get going, you hope that it sort of opens the floodgates for him offensively, especially because come playoff time, a lot of times the difference in even the playoff series that we're seeing at the NHL level is the depth contributions that you're able to sort of get from your third and fourth lines, because every team this deep into the playoffs has impact guys at the top of the lineup. Sometimes they cancel out. And so it's, do you get those contributions from further down? And that's why in the NHL, a team like the Florida Panthers is so dangerous, because they got guys like Lundell and Luosterainen and Marchand on their third line that just other teams can't contest. So if Klimovich can heat up, continue producing on that third line, it'll give Abby a depth scoring advantage.
Something we didn't mention was the massive hit that Mancini threw last night when he was on the show. We should have mentioned it. Jacob, let's get it. Let's get the hit.
I don't actually have a video of the hit, unfortunately. It came at like in the last minute of the game. We just don't have it clipped. Sorry.
I know, I was joking around. I wasn't expecting you to have Abbotsford clips ready to go.
I have all the goals from last night ready to go.
You can read about the Abbotsford playoffs over at CanucksArmy.com. Dave Hall's got you covered with the Farmies. And someone's telling me that Cody Sievertson making a comeback right in the Farmies for games 3 and 4. So you can read about all of the Abbotsford action over at CanucksArmy.com. And of course, Rinkwide Vancouver, or should we call it Rinkwide Abbotsford? Rinkwide is going live after every game. Okay, let's get to anyone else, which is brought to you by the Vancouver Canadians, who are back home. They're playing right now. It was a Friday nooner at the Net today. It was a good excuse to start the weekend early. But if you missed today, there's another one. The Family Fun Sunday, the White Spot Family Fun Sunday on May 4th. Kids get to run the bases post-game, and it's May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. It's Star Wars Day at the Nat. For tickets, call 604-872-5232 or check out CanadiansBaseball.com. Okay, a couple, and I don't even want to call them Canucks coaching candidates, but a couple names that we had to hear in the chat recently because they are big names and they are the kind of elite level of NHL coaches in John Cooper and Mike Sullivan. Both of those guys have now found work. Mike Sullivan obviously joining the Rangers and John Cooper sticking with the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, the Cooper one always felt like a pipe dream. Even if he had shaken loose.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know he's got the connection. He's originally from BC, but how many teams would have fired their head coach on the spot to hire John Cooper?
Like, you don't even need, if you're John Cooper, you don't need vacancies. You call the team and say, hey, I'll coach there.
They create the vacancy for you.
Exactly.
So that always felt like a pipe dream, even if he would have parted ways with the organization. And even then, it didn't make sense. I know Tampa's lost in the first round 3 years in a row, but ultimately, you ran into the Florida Panthers, the defending Stanley Cup champions. It's a tough circumstance, and Tampa Bay, despite falling in 5 games, they had a really good year. They at 5-on-5 control play way better than they did in the last couple of years, where they looked like a team that they made the playoffs, but they're not really a threat to go deep. Put it this way, if Tampa and Toronto had played in the first round, I would have expected Tampa to win that series. I just think they ran into an unfortunate situation similar to the Dallas-Colorado series, where they ended up playing the best team in the East.
Yeah, that's a buzzsaw. Like that's a buzzsaw. Those Florida Panthers. And yeah, it was no surprise. So the one thing that we didn't know was how many years left. It sounds like there's 1 year left on Cooper's deal, and I think today Brisebois was saying, yeah, hopefully many years after that too. So the John Cooper dream is dead for now. Mike Sullivan joining the Rangers, which wasn't it like the day he was fired, we were already talking about him probably joining the Rangers?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no real surprises there. Was there any other NHL news that I just somehow am missing? I mean, obviously we're going to talk about the series, but I wanted to make sure we got everything else out of the way.
Sort of similar to the Tampa sort of organization, obviously. Yeah. Isaac Howard told the Bolts that he does not want to sign there. He's their top prospect. He, I
just I believe, who the hell is Isaac Howard?
He was a late first round pick 2 or 3 years ago. He's the one that had the crazy not crazy, but like really bold suit, had some personality to him. He lit up the NCAA this season. And it sounds like he's told the organization that he would rather wait it out an extra year and test free agency. So Tampa either has to trade him or let him walk in the summer of 2026 and get a compensatory second round pick, which sucks for them because they could use extra depth forwards, especially on an entry level contract. And Howard, I know he doesn't get talked about a lot nationally, but he's a legit blue chip prospect. So that was the other big takeaway from Brisebois' press conference today.
So future Canuck or what?
He'd be great, but there are going to be a lot of teams interested, and Howard probably still needs, like, he's 21 and he's got a lot of potential to him, but even when you initially sign and make the NHL, there's no guarantee you're going to be an impact difference maker out of the gate, and the Canucks just have too short of a runway and having to turn things around next season to entice Quinn Hughes to stay, that it doesn't make sense to give up premium assets for a young forward who probably isn't ready to be a top 6 guy next year.
I like the suit. The American flag belt buckle is so funny. That's great.
He's got swagger to him.
Also, it'd be scary to trade for a guy that said, I want to test free agency. You'd have to be one of those teams that knows that he wants to go there. Okay. Yeah, so we have, and Howard won the Hobie Baker Award this year. We have some awards to talk about as well. Scott O'Neill, Spencer Carberry, and Marty St. Louis voted for the Jack Adams Award. I thought Jim Montgomery should have been in there. I'll be honest. And I'm not gonna I don't know. I guess O'Neill was important. St. Louis is also, Carberry's gonna win it, obviously. But I think Jim Montgomery should probably be ahead of Scott O'Neill or Marty St. Louis. Pick one of the two. I think you can an argument.
I'd take him over O'Neill. The Jets were a terrific regular season team last year as well.
Mm-hmm.
To me, the Blues glow up under Montgomery was a lot more special.
Yeah. Okay, so people want to talk about the Canucks selling, the Canucks ownership wanting to sell. I poked around on this, and there's denials across the board from from Canucks sources, right? But PJ wrote about this as well, that people around the league are saying that they're at least open to something. But you know what I found when I poked around all on this was that all you're really finding is that they're saying something about, okay, like, we'll listen. And why wouldn't you listen? And I don't think this is really a story in the sense of, like, look at what the Boston Celtics, for example, right? What did they sell for? Like, way over what people thought the franchise was worth. So they'd be stupid not to listen. But no, like, to answer the question, no, I don't believe that ownership is calling people and saying, hey, do you want to buy this team from us? I don't think they're shopping the team. And I believe, like, all those Canucks sources that are saying, nope, team's not for sale. Yeah, they haven't put it up for sale. If people call with an offer, like, if you're listening to this and you want to go offer $2 billion, you might get somewhere on those conversations. But
start the GoFundMe.
Yeah, start the GoFundMe. No, it's not. It's the team is not for sale is basically what I'm trying to say. But this idea that, oh, they would never, ever, ever sell, I don't believe that's accurate either. And why would, like, and again, I'm trying to downplay this because it's not a big deal that they would at least listen, but I believe that they would listen. Not a big deal, but they would listen, and they'd be stupid not to.
Yeah, I mean, any franchise would be available for the right price.
Yeah, Celtics sold for $6.1 billion. I'll tell you this with confidence.
Wild.
I'll tell you this with confidence, Harm. If someone offers the Aquilini $6.1 billion for the Canucks, they're going to accept it.
Yeah, of course.
Tell you that. Team's not for sale, but if you pay a Celtics price, they'll probably accept it. Okay? Can we leave it at that? Okay.
Yeah.
I think we can. We mentioned the coaching awards. Some series are set. Toronto. Did I pick them last night? I did, right? Jacob, that was my bet 365 bet of the day.
Did you pick Toronto or did you pick Ottawa?
I think I picked Toronto because they were underdogs, and I'm all about beliefs.
Intern Jacob Fraser here says you picked Toronto, so yes, good call.
Yeah, but you picked Ottawa to win the series, though.
I did. You had to remind me of that, hey?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had to.
Second round, Florida, Toronto. I have Florida in 5 games.
Florida in 6. The
Jacob?
Panthers are so scary right now.
Let's wait and do our predictions when before the second round starts. We'll do it on Monday. We'll have our round 2 predictions.
Jacob, it's 2:31 and I have nothing on my sheet.
Well, then it's anyone else. Let's ask the chat, get some questions in here. It's a Friday. It doesn't necessarily have to be about hockey. You can ask these guys about life, summer plans. It's a beautiful sunny day in Vancouver.
Yeah,
We'll have
ask
some
a couple mid-20-year-olds about life advice. That sounds like a great idea. Said nobody.
I got bruises on my arm. Got thrown on the cage last night.
You know what, though? I figured as much as even when Ottawa tied it in the third, made it 2-2, it's what I said on yesterday's show. Some things in life sound too good to be true.
Yes.
And the idea of the Leafs blowing a 3-0 series lead to the Ottawa Senators of all teams, that just, as much as I got giddy at the prospect of it happening, I didn't let myself fully believe.
No.
Even when they tied it up. Especially because the way the Sens had won Game 5, it wasn't very convincing. The Leafs dominated play for the most part. Linus Ullmark just stood on his head. That wasn't going to be a sustainable recipe for winning 2 more times.
Where did the Kings go from here? Eliminated by the Edmonton Oilers for the 4th year in a row. This one hurts more, I think. Get a 2-0 series lead. That challenge from Jim Hiller, everybody's still talking about it. And I think it's a little dramatic to say one challenge changed the whole series, but kind of did.
Well, it was Game 4 that really sticks out to me. You're up with less than a minute to go. You close that out, you're up 3-1. It's a totally different series. Instead, they let the Oilers back in it. Byfield had that opportunity to just chip it out. Instead, tried to make a play to go off the boards, carry it out past Bouchard. Bouchard keeps it in. They score. And from that moment on, the Oilers kept dominating. They didn't let their foot off the gas. The next OT period was unbelievable. Then the following game, the Oilers, it didn't even look like the Kings were in the same league as them, which was such a stark departure from what we'd seen compared to the rest of the series. Calvin Pickard is not Stuart Skinner, apparently, so he's been fine enough. And honestly, the Kings didn't even have enough of an offensive push to really test him. Yeah, that one really stings. This was a year to do it too. No Matthias Ekholm. Edmonton's depth, I don't think, was as strong on paper as it has been in years past. I know they got contributions in the series from Janmark and other guys. Kane coming back was big for the Oilers, but still on paper, this Oilers team was more vulnerable than I'd argue any of the previous seasons. The Kings were also better than they have been in previous seasons because of Byfield's breakout, the power play getting back on track, Fiala finding his form in the second half. And for them to just blow that opportunity, this was the year. They blew it.
So now what?
I don't know. I shouldn't say I don't know. Their hope has to be for their younger guys to continue leveling up. That was how they became a more dangerous offensive team down the stretch in the second half when they, for the last several weeks, had either the best or the second best record in the Western Conference. Second best, I think, behind St. Louis, was Byfield breaking out. And there's still another gear for him to unlock. So if he can take another step, if Brent Clark can take another step, I don't think this was the best rookie season for him. It was up and down. He clearly didn't have Jim Hiller's trust. If he can level up on the back end, if Byfield can improve, that's going to have to be the path for them to hope to hit the next level as a team.
Oh, good. There's some Jim Rutherford comments to get to. Did you see these?
No.
I didn't either. So it's time to go to Twitter. Okay, here we go.
Did these just drop?
Yep. Well, earlier today, it looks like about noon, and we just missed it. It was on the 100% Hockey podcast. Quinn Hughes told Jim Rutherford his phone died golfing, and that's why he didn't call Jim Rutherford back right away.
I love that somebody had to follow up and ask.
So that's the big story, if you ask me. Rutherford said that the Canucks strength and conditioning guys called him unsolicited and said Elias Pettersson is working very hard. Okay.
Glad to know the guy that's making $11.6 million is working hard.
Rutherford says they're going to set up phone interviews with coaches for next week. Here's the spicy one. Oh, darn. Okay. We got to actually talk about this one. Rutherford admits if the Canucks get to the trade deadline in 2 seasons and it looks like Hughes isn't going to stay, they would have to do something. Harmon, we've been talking about next offseason, not next trade deadline. You know what this is setting up for, right? Trade deadline 2027. Patrick Allvin comes out and says, if I told you what we were offered for Quinn Hughes,
come on,
I'd have to run out of here. Or what that really means, we're really close to a playoff spot. We're not trading Quinn Hughes. Are you nuts? And get no assets for him.
No, you can't do that.
So
Quinn's different.
So they keep Quinn Hughes because they know he's leaving, but they're gonna do this and trade him at the deadline in 2 seasons. But they're, I don't know, 3rd in the Pacific. They trading Quinn Hughes?
Yes, they have to. Even a franchise as at times incompetent as this one would have to make the right decision there. They would get flamed.
It's not the same magnitude, obviously, but like we flamed them for Brock Besser.
Come on, that's not comparable.
It absolutely is.
Brock Besser is not the franchise. Quinn Hughes is the franchise. Quinn Hughes is this team.
So why would you want to trade him when you were trying to get one last?
Stop it!
One last
stop
run,
gaslighting.
One last ride.
Stop gaslighting me.
Does this sound that far fetched? People in the chat, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think this sounds that far-fetched.
Even for the Canucks, this sounds far-fetched. Even for the Canucks, this sounds far-fetched.
I just disagree.
I mean, Jim Rutherford in that interview just said it there, that they would have to do something.
Jim Rutherford said that, yep. Okay. All right. I don't think we need to spend any more time on that, but I would heavily advise trading him in the offseason next year if, and this is the big caveat here, if he says he's not going to sign long-term. The hope is that he's going to sign and wants to be here. But, like, the Flames, model organization, they didn't wait to trade Matthew Tkachuk. They weren't like, oh, darn, he's leaving. We're going to wait till the deadline. You do it in the offseason. Get it over with.
No, I agree. If in the summer of 2026, Quinn tells you definitively, I'm not going to be re-signing here, you have to pull the trigger then and there. That triggers your rebuild right there.
Yeah. You hope. You can't rebuild when you have players like Jonathan Lecker-Mackey here.
Filipino.
You can't rebuild when you have Filipino.
And
you owe it to these guys to compete. Philip Hronek, there you go. Rebuilding teams don't have Philip Hroneks on them. Okay. Is there anything else? I don't think there was anything else. I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Miller-Patterson situation, everything we've already heard. I don't think there's anything else. Yeah. All right. Short show today because there's no other anyone else.
So there is one more interesting quote that our friend Adam at the Hockey News tweeted out from that interview from Jim Rutherford. Quote, when July 1 comes, I mean, we're not very often on top of the players list.
He said that?
Yeah. Damn. I mean, according to Adam's tweet.
Damn. Why? What? That's the thing. I don't know the context, but you know he wasn't asked about that, right? He probably threw that out there just for fun. Wasn't even asked about it. Just said, "Here's something I want to say." But he's right, and hey, that's Jim Rutherford, man. He's honest.
And I think that's why when Jim spoke at end of year availabilities and was referencing their need for an impact top 6 center, he said we're likely going to have to get our shopping done on the trade market rather than in free agency. I'm sure they've looked at the free agent list, and even with some of the centers, guys like Sam Bennett, Tavares, Duchesne, gone through it and realistically already have an idea that those players, for various reasons, likely wouldn't come here.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not as if franchises wait until July 1st and are like, we're going to phone up Sam Bennett's agent now and and now we're gonna figure out if he has any appetite or desire to be here or not. Those conversations take place well in advance. You always have an inkling or a feeling well before July 1st on whether you're realistically going to be in on the bidding war or not for certain guys.
It's my favorite part about restricted versus unrestricted free agency. Restricted free agency, it's like the management coming out. These things take time. We're working on it. Negotiating process. July 1st opens at 9 a.m. Pacific. 9:03. It's like, we've just signed this player to a 7-year deal at this absorbent cap hit, and we're very excited about it. That happened fast.
The tampering is kind of insane in the last couple weeks of June.
I don't want that to change, though. I think that's
Oh,
great.
yeah.
I think that's awesome. It's like how the year they signed Susie, there was already reports of the exact contract structure of what the Canucks would sign them to.
So I had an idea where one day I wanted to, with a Vancouver area player, like one idea I wanted to pitch at some point was to talk to an unrestricted free agent and sort of sit in with him on July 1st and sort of do kind of like a behind the scenes of what it's like as a player on July 1st if you're a free agent and you're fielding all these calls and making all these decisions. I thought that would have been a cool story idea. And then I thought about it and I was like, I can't do it because odds are on July 1st, before the market even officially opens, he probably already knows where he's going for and for how much money.
Yeah. Okay. This one from Mike Weller. He said, who will be the most active team this offseason? That's an interesting question. Who's got the most surgery to do this offseason? Let's take a minute to prepare for this. And while we do that, oh wait, I did all my ad reads. All right, I'm going to get Bet365 out of the way while you look that up, while you figure out that for yourself. Let's get to our Bet365 bet of the day, but it's not the end of the show just yet. I just want to get it done because Harmon's going to look this up. Baseball's happening today. And the Seattle Mariners are taking on the Texas Rangers. The Mariners are one of the best teams in the league right now, which I didn't see coming. They are visiting the Texas Rangers. They need points in the AL West to keep their spot at the top of the division. I'm taking Mariners -125 on the money line. You can get that at Bet365. And if you want to get in on the action for the Stanley Cup playoffs, Bet365's got you covered. From game props, player props, totals, and the money line, you can even bet on futures like series winners, conference champions, the Stanley Cup champions, and much, much more. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. An official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Must be 90 plus to play. If you choose to play, please play responsibly.
Quads, I'm going to take a victory lap because I remember talking to you about a week before the MLB season, and you were like, I'm so disinterested and upset with the Mariners. And I told you, you know what? I think I like what they've built offensively. I think they'll be okay. They'll score enough runs. And hey, the last couple of weeks, they're like one of the best offensive teams in baseball. So you should have had more faith in your Mariners.
The turning point was when I dunked on you. You're welcome.
Yeah. I just can't believe they're as good as they are. Like, seriously, it's mind-boggling. Jorge Polanco is putting up numbers like, okay, you know who Barry Bonds is, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Jorge Polanco, this guy they traded for last year, who's an absolute bum. He hit like 212 last year. He was awful. Switch hitter. He's putting up like numbers that are only comparable to Barry Bonds right now through his first month of a year or whatever, and it's just very, very funny. He's playing great baseball right now, and it is fun to watch. But I don't know. I struggle. Here's the thing: I watch a lot of 1 to 9 inning games. I struggle to keep watching when they go up. Like, they were up 11-0 in the 4th inning the other night, and I'm like, okay, well, it's like you're just gonna
stop. They're already
dead. I gotta sit here for 2 more hours and watch. And I'm not even put up a fight. Anyways,
so here I'll give you a little note, Harm. This isn't really analytics, but it's for some people. I guess they still consider it. OPS plus in baseball is kind of like it's an almost all-encompassing stat where you can say, how does this player's offensive output compare to the rest of the league? So 100 is average. And then, of course, like 110 would mean you're 10% better than average. 150, you're 50% better than average. If you get close to like 200, you are like MVP candidate. Right now, Jorge Polanco has got like a 251 OPS plus. He's just much better than everybody.
Thank you for bringing up the OPS. I appreciate that. That's such a... Oh, yeah. It's kind of like the dog rating for baseball. I want to mention this as well. We've got a lot of people on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, folks. I found out recently that really helps us. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, if you're on podcast, you should also be subscribed. New Family Feud survey out?
Not yet. I didn't have a chance. I'll push it out hard on Monday. So for those of you who are wondering, Monday, new survey will be out. We'll be good to go. And at some point, we are going to have to start scaling back, but we'll see. I want to try and keep Family Feud weekly through the summer. But yeah, our show schedule is going to change a little bit, but we'll work Family Feud in there somehow.
Okay. We've got a game 6 between the Winnipeg Jets and St. Louis Blues. I think that one's heading to 7. I'm going to be honest. I think that's heading to 7. And then we have a game 7 tomorrow, Saturday, between the Colorado Avalanche and Dallas Stars. Sticking with the Avs? I'm impressed by how close the Stars made this series. I thought they were dead in the water.
Yeah.
After 2 games.
So I picked Avs to win in 7 originally.
Yep.
I have to stick with that. I can't change now, but my gut's kind of telling me Stars.
Really?
Just because they've kept the series this close. The way Colorado won Game 6 was sort of lucky with the own goal. And you look at Colorado's record in recent Game 7s and Peter DeBoer's recent record in Game 7s. It's like it's pretty heavily tilted in the Stars' favor there. So I'm hoping Colorado pulls it out because we all like being right. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Stars ultimately pull it out.
All right. We'll be back on Monday to break it all down. Final thoughts? Any of you? Beautiful.
Nope.
We'll close it out there. For my co-host Harmon Dial, our technical producer Jacob Lazar, and the interns back there as well. Our thanks again to Victor Mancini for joining the show today. My name is Dave Quadrelli. Thanks so much for this episode of Canucks Conversation. Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.